the decision by the United States to join and become active in the EAS, the decision to revitalize U.S. economic engagement in the region, both through APEC and through the energizing of the TPP process, are all examples of complementing these traditional alliances and relationships with the new emerging powers to include the multilateral institutions. And I think that this is a strategy that applies, again, across all dimensions of the nature of U.S. interests in the region. And so there is a clear commitment, I think, on the part of the United States to take this perspective of leadership but partnership and to try to apply this as a kind of a deep approach to the region, whether it's on issues of security or trade or climate or energy and the like. And I think we can discuss how that plays out in different contexts.
Is occasionally an incoming administration will not know what it wants to do in a positive sense, but will negate one of the previous administration's policies just to negate it and to separate itself up as different and new. And we certainly saw that in the early parts of 2001 when President Bush succeeded President Clinton. And at least one issue that directly had bearing on Korea, the agreed framework, was negated quite quickly before having sorted out an alternative on what else to do and without having interagency harmony. So you had early on in March a split between Secretary of State Colin Powell and the White House staff over the agreed framework that just aired out for everyone to see in an administration that hadn't sorted itself out internally. Just generally not a good thing to do for a new administration, but will happen.
So this is where we need to examine, I think, much more carefully what American goals and policies are and American expectations, and where various allies and security partners and presumptive major powers, as well as adversaries, fit in this overall process. Let's first of all do the math. I'm not going to give a long disquisition on this, but the Obama administration has basically tried to establish a floor on the deployment of American military forces, arguing that Asia as a whole will not be cut in this process. Now, what that means in what is likely to be a much more stringent future budgetary environment is that if there are going to be cuts, they're going to have to come from elsewhere, if that is indeed the way forward. And I say that only to note that you can't, if you argue that the United States now will concentrate on Asia as a whole, what gets left out in that shuffle? How do you maintain a sense of commitment and presence in other regions, particularly under circumstances where, to be frank, the budget just does not support the kinds of grand goals that are often asserted?
U.S. position on the East Asia policy has been driven by traditional security concern, rather forgotten the dynamics and natures of change in the East Asia, like the economic integration among the partners and free trade agreement, all these human migration issues. All these issues have been discussed among the regional powers, while the United States wasn't there. So it's rather, and third, actually, it's been rather reactive and proactive, or leading the situation. So U.S. has been reacting what's going on. So that's why the United States sometimes, from my standpoint, is always behind the China in talking about the regional issues and giving us some solutions. U.S. solution always coming back to the same answer, emphasizing alliance. But actually have not taken the nature, the characteristics of the changes. That actually one of the shortcomings of U.S. policy.